Now, of course, we've had efforts in the recent days for a diplomatic solution to this situation. What are the prospects for a lasting ceasefire in the region?
من وجهة نظرك. In my viewpoint, and as I have mentioned before through your channel, on the personal level, I don't really count on diplomatic efforts, specifically as that relates to the front, the Lebanese front. In fact, the current American administration is now living its last days, and in fact, it seems that they are paving the way for a deal in order to release some Israeli hostages in return for freeing some of the Israeli hostages. And that's what Biden is trying to do in his last days in office. However, if you perceive what Biden is doing, he was never serious about reaching a serious ceasefire as well. The Lebanese front needs to stay open in order for him to the war is not going to stop on the Lebanese level, but it's going to expand, and the scope of the war is going to expand all the way to Iran, I believe, and all the way to Yemen, and maybe even to Iraq and Syria, since the Syrian regime represents a major factor in subsidizing Hezbollah with arms and financial resources. In fact, it seems like the leaders of the Zionist entity, they perceive this war as their last war, and so they try to strengthen the Mu'ana axis, and as well they try to do that in order to serve their benefits on all possible scopes and levels.
Well, you mentioned expansion there, Brigadier General. What do you think the likelihood, because Iran has been signaling a potential response to Israeli actions, what do you think the likelihood of that is?
In fact, it is not the first time that the Israeli leaders try to provoke Iran in something like that, because they bear the responsibility of the Tufan al-Aqsa. And in fact, all the conflict that took place between Hamas and Israel have been fueled by Iran, because Iran, in fact, trains and finances all these militant groups that are operating within the Iranian airspace and that are opposing Israel. In fact, Netanyahu stated that clearly when he said that we perceive Iran as the head of the snake. In fact, he as well said something else, that Iran is an octopus, meaning that he wishes to undermine all of the limbs of the octopus, and after that he'll be able to eradicate this and terminate this octopus altogether. In fact, ever since Tufan al-Aqsa broke out, we have been seeing how Israeli leaders have been trying to convince the states to terminate the nuclear project of Iran, represented by the Iran nuclear reactor. And in fact, we as well see the Israeli manufacturing of long distance missiles that are manufactured in Iran, and the satellites produced by Iran. All these things are perceived by Israel as strategic sources of jeopardy for Israeli national security. Of course, Israel perceives that and is not at all happy with what's happening in Iran in this regard. And I think that some kind of Western alliance is going to be formed in order to confront the Momana alliance. And in fact, the Israeli enemy recently targeted the air defenses, air defense bases, and the reservoirs of fossil fuels of Iran. And in fact, the military logic, as always, advises for the strengthening first of air bases, and later on anything else can be done, because once the airspace is covered and protected, then further protection can take place. And I think